Now today, you and your wife, have you got a love relationship, or is it? How can you say now, I love the Lord, I love my wife with the love of the Lord, and you've had a life that you only knew that you use women as objects and lust?
Well, for the first time in my life, the last 2 years, I was in America, and a lady in America prophesied some stuff over my life. And she said to me, your wife's at home writing you a letter at the minute. And I thought, no, she's not. It's 4 o'clock in the morning. She won't even be out of bed. So because I sort of like checking things out, I got on the telephone and rang my wife up and said, hey, what are you doing? And she said, I'm actually writing you a letter and telling you that I've forgiven you. And we've had a better relationship in the last 2 years than what I've had 25 or 28 years previously. And I know she forgave me because when I come home from the States, she said to me, you know, there's some money in an account that I had hidden from you, and you can have a new Harley Davidson. So there's a closeness there that I've never experienced before, and God is the only person that could put that back together. It's only through what he did on my behalf that changed her heart to allow her to be able to love me.
So you've used your head to manipulate and do all the other and gain the stuff and all the assets and all that. How did God do a job on your heart?
God challenged me, and I accumulated a bit of stuff over the years, as you do when you're a criminal. And he asked me to give what I had away. And I really struggled with that. I thought, Lord, you know, this sucks. I worked all hard for this, and now you're telling me to give it over? And in that, it's only through obedience. And I'm not saying this is for everybody, but when the Lord said, hand a particular property over, I struggled with it. But I said to him, you know, you kept everything together for me, and you've put everything back together for me. So what I've got, I'm going to hand to you. And I handed it in, and the person that I handed it to gave it back to me.
A bit like that bloke that had to put his son up on the thing.
A little bit in some ways, but see, God challenged me, and he said, with that property, I want you to build a rehabilitation centre. He said, because there's going to be a lot of people that you'll be able to get through to, but you've got to have somewhere to do it from. So I stopped. I was going to build my home on that block. It's a nice 110 acres. And I went back and bought an old house instead. And I said to God, well, if that's what you want to happen, that's what we'll do.
And that's what you're doing now?
And that's what we're doing now, yeah.
Alongside your wife?
Alongside with my wife, yep.
If you could have changed one thing in your life that would have affected a lot of people in your past, what would that one thing be?
The only thing I really regret not having changed earlier, because it's not like I didn't have the opportunity, I just chose not to walk with it, was knowing God like I know him today. See, people laugh at me because I'll go into a real estate office today and say, look, I need to list this and I need to sell this block of land. And they'll say, mate, market's down. You'll never get that money. It's impossible. I'll just walk outside with my wife and say, Lord, I believe in my spirit that it's your time for this to sell. Send me a buyer. It's never been more than 2 weeks before a buyer would walk in. They never argue about the price. Solicitors will say to me, look, you've got to write something into a contract so you can get out. But I ask God to send a buyer. So if you're going to trust him, you need to trust him 110%. He has bought houses, he has sold houses, he's put tenants in buildings.
So you're actually saying, under this rule of the world and all the excuses that we can hear, you're saying your God, in your spirit,
yep,
is above all that?
My God is above all that. Like, I'm a walking miracle. My leg was smashed beyond repair. but I still walk.
I've spent about 3 or 4 times talking with this bloke and giving it to him every time, no problem. Each one of us are on a journey with God. This bloke, for the last 3 years of his life, he's met his Creator, full on. Right? He's been like a wild maniac out there. He's a wild maniac for the Lord because he's been stuffing around wasting 38 years of his life. When he came over to me before and David got up there and said, I want letters, what did you say to me? He didn't knock what David said, but he said, this is what I want to do.
See, the fella that spoke about enough is enough, he asked for people to come forward and sign petitions. I only need 10 men that will stand in faith, come before God and say, Lord, you are above all these things. I curse that shop at its roots, dry up its finances, stop its resources, and it's as good as finished. I can't instill in the hearts of people how important spoken word and standing on God's word is. Jesus spoke to a tree and it died at the roots. His word says he lives in each and every one of us. The same spoken word, greater things than what I have done, you will do. Every person on this planet has a purpose in his kingdom. Real men need to stand up and grab hold of that purpose and understand the power in the word. We don't need to write a letter. We need to speak to the Father, because he is our healer. He is our provider. I haven't worked for the last 4 years, but he sent me $780,000.
Okay. Now, this man is on a journey. Anyone who wants to go with him at lunchtime and pray that prayer, go with him. If you're compelled to write the letter, write the letter. Don't stuff around trying to make laws to pull things apart when our brains get in the road so many times in our lives to try and tell God what to do. Let God do the job on our spirits and let's just do it. The last thing I want to ask you to do is your big mate Victor sitting over the front there. You can cry, it's good to see you crying, we've got a bit of heart. What do you want to say quickly to your big mate Victor there?
Well, you know, it's good to see, Vic, that you come to the Lord. I know that God's got a calling on everybody's life, and I know in what you're in, you can have a big influence. And I just hope that you can get to know God like the way I know him.
Good on you, mate. All right, thanks, Gerry.
Thanks, mate.